Have you read a story in the Draoithe Saga and come away with a classic case of immersion after effect? Let me guess, there are questions which remain unanswered even as the magic expanded, adding another layer to the dream. The grand desire to turn the page to discover what happened next ended with the last leaf turned. If you're asking where the remedy for the book Hangover is, you know the answer: read another story. But you aren't ready for the next tale, not yet. The dust needs to settle before you pick up the next volume. So you have found your way here. You aren't alone. Even the author can't get enough. As you hear this, Ophelia Kee writes on. But allow me to offer you a possibility, a reflection on the tale you recently finished, and a way to revisit the story to ease the story blues. Welcome to the Draoithe Saga After Party. Warning, spoiler alerts ahead. Turn back now if you wish to read the story blind.
Great to be here.
Today we're diving straight into this world where magic is just part of everyday life. You've got ancient myths walking around, and the personal stakes couldn't be higher.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
We're exploring excerpts from Ophelia Kee's Dark Oath. It's part of the bigger Draoithe Saga.
Right.
And our mission, really, is to pull out the fascinating bits, especially how these old prophecies and forbidden magic shape people's lives.
And specifically this one couple, right? Their story is central here.
Exactly. This one really unique couple.
And what makes this whole thing so gripping is it's described as a dream to live for.
A dream to live for. I like that.
Yeah, so you listening, you're getting a kind of shortcut to understanding the big challenges, the surprising truths in this world.
Seeing how they navigate it all, especially when love demands these, well, impossible sacrifices.
Totally impossible sometimes.
So, okay, let's set the scene, Draoithe. It's set in this magical realist version of Tyler, Texas.
Right, around 2016 or so.
So picture, like, your normal world.
Uh-huh.
But myths, legends, fairy tales, they're not just stories. They're actually there, walking beside you.
It's described as eerily familiar, which I think captures it perfectly. Familiar yet strange and wonderful.
And the core of the whole saga, the main conflict.
Well, it's this fight, to restore the magical balance of the dream itself. And that leads them to found this immortal kingdom, a place called the Lean Deal.
The Lean Deal, got it.
Yeah, and it's specifically set up to fight back against the people messing things up. People like Peter Elliott, he's one of the antagonists trying to unbalance the magic.
So it's a real battle for their whole reality, essentially.
Exactly. The fabric of it.
And there's this core idea in their world, right? That people find balance often through a life mate.
Yes, exactly, a life mate. And that bond actually lets ancient magic sort of live again through them.
Wow. But we should probably mention, this isn't like a light fantasy romp.
No, definitely not. The author puts explicit warnings right up front. Adult themes, fantasy violence, and explicit sexual situations. So, yeah, it's aimed at a mature audience.
Good to know. Okay.
Absolutely. So should we meet the couple at the heart of this?
Yes, let's do it. The extraordinary couple, as you put it. Who's first?
Let's start with Hannah O'Keefe. She's also known as Nightshade.
Nightshade,
Yeah.
okay. And her past is, well, the outline says utterly tragic.
Yeah, that's putting it mildly. Truly heartbreaking stuff.
So she was a professional dancer.
Yeah.
Like really good.
Oh yeah, world tours were on the horizon, top of her game. Then her life just gets completely torn apart.
Ow.
3 evil dragons, they abduct her, turn her into this broken vampire.
Broken? How so?
Well, we'll get into that, but it's not a typical vampire transformation. And then they just abandon her, leave her to basically wither away in some warehouse.
Oh my God, that's horrific.
It is, and like as if that wasn't enough.
There's more.
Her entire remaining family gets murdered, and she's actually a police suspect in her own aunt's death, Rosalind O'Keefe, and a house fire in Houston.
Wait, a suspect? After everything she's been through?
Yeah, it's just incredibly heavy, like you said. A really rough start.
Definitely. So what about her unique condition? You mentioned she was broken.
Right. It's fascinating, actually. She was born touching the well of fire.
Well of fire.
Yeah, it makes her den lacer, which basically means she has this incredibly pure passion, this intense inner fire.
Okay, so that sounds powerful.
It is, but here's the twist. The dragon's blood they forced on her. It killed her 3 times.
Killed her 3 times? How does that even work?
It's mystical, right? It prevented her soul from entering the underworld, so she's stuck. And she's left with this curse. She's cursed to do whatever anyone tells me to do.
Whoa. Complete compulsion.
Total compulsion. It's
Yeah.
this massive vulnerability, even though she has this inherent power.
So powerful, but controllable. That's a dangerous mix.
Very. And apparently she overdosed on their blood at her making.
You mean?
It actually made her unusually strong for a new vampire. She can store something called Cedra energy, like raw magic, and she regenerates with the dawn.
Regenerates with the dawn. Okay, vampire differences there.
Uh-huh. And one small detail, but it becomes important. She smells like lavender.
Lavender. Got it. Okay, who's the other half of this couple?
That would be Flame, or his older name, Diarmid Cinead.
Flame. Okay, and
He's
is
a 629-year-old gray dragon alpha.
a dragon. Okay.
Yeah.
6 centuries old.
Yep. Used to love the nightlife, a good fight, good food, beautiful women. You know, the typical ancient alpha dragon lifestyle, maybe?
Maybe. Anything else?
He'd also sworn fealty, loyalty to the dire wolf king.
Okay, so there's a hierarchy.
Definitely. But he's got his own baggage, a pretty big burden, actually.
Look is.
His brothers mistakenly thought he was the one turning women into vampires. For himself.
Ouch. That would cause some friction.
You bet! And he's also dealing with these fragmented memories from his past as Diarmid. Flashes of practicing with a staff. Dancing with a red-haired woman. It's all kind of hazy for him.
Interesting. And his scent. You mentioned hers.
Right. He smells of cognac and linen.
Cognac and linen. Classy.
And Hannah finds it deeply comforting. Intoxicating, even.
So an immediate connection there, scent-wise at least.
Seems like it. A very intense, almost primal connection.
Okay, so their individual stories are already pretty packed. But you mentioned a prophecy.
Yes, the prophecy. This is where things get really complicated. It involves both of them, this shared destiny.
So Flame tells Hannah about it.
Yeah, he reveals that this necromancer cursed him and his 6 brothers, like, ages ago, with this vision of their future.
A curse and a prophecy. Intense. What did it say?
It laid out their path pretty clearly. They would serve the dire wolf king.
Okay, we knew that part.
They would cherish the Valkyries, who are their fated mates.
Valkyries, okay.
And they'd have to wait 6 centuries for the true king.
6th century, that's a long wait.
A very long wait. And it also foretold that all their mates, all the Valkyries, would be broken by another.
Broken by another. Like Hannah.
Exactly like Hannah, but they'd be found together at once.
All of them.
At the same time?
Seems so. And then the dragons, Flame and his brothers, they would have to sing their throats with leather and oath to claim your mates and become dragons once more.
Sing their throats with leather and oath. What does that mean?
It's, symbolic, powerful language. It implies a binding ritual, a reclaiming of their true dragon forms through this oath to their mates. It sounds incredibly demanding, right?
Absolutely. That is a heavy fate.
And this prophecy, this whole thing, that's what led Flame and his brothers to collar themselves.
They collared themselves voluntarily.
Yeah. Became dragon knights. It was fulfilling part of that destiny, you see.
Oh, okay.
And Flame tells Hannah that act, that collaring, that's how he knew where to find her in that warehouse.
So it wasn't just chance, it was the prophecy guiding him.
Predestined, yeah. But still requiring his action, his intervention. But what's interesting is, even with this huge prophecy hanging over him,
Yeah.
Flame apparently admits his life has mostly just been muddling through 6 centuries worth of knowledge from muddling through his existence.
Right. It's kind of grounding, isn't it? Even with this epic destiny, he still feels like he's just been stumbling along.
And he'd even despaired of ever finding his mate.
Yeah, it really shows that even immortals, even those bound by fate, they still feel that weight of time, of doubt. It's poignant.
Definitely. Okay, so let's dive deeper into this world of immortals. Hannah's recovery journey sounds crucial.
It absolutely is. Her trauma. It's immense. Memories of being tortured by the sun.
Which is classic vampire weakness, right?
Usually, yeah. Physical abuse, being forced to drink blood. It all haunts her. She literally trembles and cringes if someone tries to touch her.
So how does she even cope? Especially being a new vampire with that thirst.
That's where Flame steps in. Again, he provides her his own blood. Daily, at dawn.
His blood. Wait, I thought...
Exactly. It's the only thing that quenches what she describes as an unbearable thirst. It calms her despair.
But isn't that a huge taboo for dragons?
Huge. It's described as beyond dishonorable and strictly forbidden by Ash, the Lord of Dragons.
So he's risking everything for her.
Everything. His honor, potentially his life. It shows the incredible depth of his commitment right from the start.
Wow. And what about the compulsion? How does that play out?
Well, she really struggles with how easily she complies. She can't help it.
So she asks Flame about it, like, why don't you just order me around?
She does, and he confirms it. Yes, she is compelled, but he emphasizes that he's deliberately not ordering her. He's trying very hard to give her choices, despite the curse.
That's quite something, the dynamic there.
It's powerful, of being forced to obey, but the one who could command her is actively trying to give her agency back.
So does she start to heal? To find her feet in this new life?
Slowly, yes. She starts training with Flame. Staff combat.
Staff combat, like he remembered from his past.
Seems like it. And for Hannah, it feels like dancing.
Ah, connecting back to her old self.
Exactly. It helps her feel more comfortable, more grounded in this new existence, and she picks it up fast. Speed comes with time, is the mantra, but her vampire nature and dancer's agility give her a huge head start.
Does she discover other abilities? You mentioned Cedra energy.
Oh yeah. She starts uncovering these innate magical powers. Levitation.
Cool.
Flame powers, ice powers. There's this instance where she actually freezes another dragon's, Blaze's feet.
Nice.
Yeah.
Accidental or on purpose?
Bit of both, maybe. Learning control. And remember the lavender scent?
Yeah.
There's this thing called her one-scented allure. Mahala, we'll get to it, explains it's super rare. It basically works in reverse.
Reverse how?
Instead of drawing males in like typical vampire allure, it subconsciously cloaks her against unwanted male attention.
Whoa! An automatic defense mechanism.
Pretty much. Sets her apart, again.
This world keeps getting more complex. What about immortality? Is death even real for them?
It's complicated. Dying isn't always final. Like there's a story about Smoke, another dragon. His throat got ripped out by a grizzly bear shifter.
Ouch.
Yeah, but someone named Cox apparently pulled him back from the netherworld.
So they could be seriously hurt, maybe even die, but brought back.
Sometimes. It highlights their resilience, but also that danger is very real, and there are clearly forces at play beyond normal life and death.
Makes sense. And for Hannah, routine becomes important.
Hugely important. For stability, workouts, showers, tea, practicing her vampire magic, socializing. It creates structure in this chaotic new life.
And we meet other inhabitants. Like shifters?
Yep. Kalik, for instance, he's a bear shifter. We see his bear form, and there's the whole telepathy thing with the collar dragons.
All right, the mind link.
Yeah, they can communicate mentally, even sift through memories.
Yikes. Hannah doesn't like that, I bet.
Not at all. She finds it horrifying, understandably. That lack of privacy.
Yeah, I would too. Okay, let's talk about this inner circle, the guides. Kalik, the bear shifter, sounds important.
He really is. He's Mahala's mate, and he's described as a dream walker. He just gets grief, you know.
How so?
He went through it himself when Mahala became a vampire, so he has this deep empathy. He's the one who really pushes Flame to let Hannah grieve properly, all those losses she suffered.
That sounds like wise counsel.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And Kalik gives Flame this incredibly crucial, almost paradoxical piece of advice about Hannah's specific type of vampirism.
The justice vampire.
Right. Kalik explains that an alpha justice vampire, which Hannah inherently is despite the compulsion, she has to become submissive to be free.
Submissive to be free. How does that work?
It's the magic. Kalik says the magic itself demands that her consort, well, force her to take him, romantically fixate.
Force her, but Flame's trying to give her choice. That's a massive dilemma for him.
Exactly. It goes against everything, especially his honor as a dragon knight. But Kalik insists. He says Flame must sacrifice his honor to serve her. It's the only way to save her from just fading away.
Fading away, like ceasing to exist.
Yeah. It's the core of Flame's impossible choice. His honor versus her existence.
Wow. And Kalik has unusual methods too. Dream talk.
Yeah, he uses dream talk, this unique ability to basically compel Flame to show him his own past pain, his trauma.
Oh, why?
It seems like a way to build this deep, almost forced trust, to help Flame understand sacrifice, maybe? And Kalik warns him, seriously warns him, about the consequences if he messes up, if he fails to integrate Hannah into their world, Draoithe.
So Hannah's fate is tied to the whole community.
Absolutely. The stakes are huge.
Okay, who else is in this inner circle? Mahala.
Yes,
Yeah.
Mahala. She's the 400-year-old Vigestus vampire princess, Kalik's mate.
A vampire princess. Okay. And she helps Hannah.
Big time. She has this deep understanding of what Hannah is. She tells Hannah straight up her compulsion. It's permanent,
That's rough.
but it can be altered by mixing Veritas and Cedra magic. truth magic and that raw power energy, so there's hope for modification at least.
And what does she tell Hannah about Flame?
She doesn't hold back at all. Tells her point blank, Flame is deeply in love with you.
Just lays it out there.
Yep. And she explains that him feeding her his blood, that forbidden act, it's this enormous sacrifice of his honor and it's absolute proof of his love.
Does Hannah understand that? The gravity of it?
Mihaela makes sure she does, and she also confirms that only Flame can be with Hannah without hurting her, because of her unique nature.
So Mihaela really empowers Hannah.
Totally. She encourages her to embrace being a vampire, embrace her powers. She even offers to teach her Vigestus spell casting.
Wow.
And she urges her, claim your dragon. Become Zuhachi bound.
Zuhachi bound. What's that?
It sounds like a really powerful magical bond for ultimate protection. Essentially, claim Flame fully as her consort and protector.
Okay. And then there's Luke, the direwolf king.
Right, Luke. He's also a co-owner of Draoithe, this sanctuary place, and he's presented as this new kind of leader.
How so?
He genuinely wants his people, including his dragons, to be free. As free as the rest of us, he says. He specifically rejects this old system where dragon riders basically had to sleep with their handlers to be allowed to fly.
Yikes. Yeah, that's a good change.
Definitely signals a shift towards more respect, more freedom.
And he offers Hannah sanctuary.
A very concrete offer, a
Yeah.
permanent job as dancer for Draoithe.
Dancer. Bringing her past back again.
Exactly. And it comes with a good salary, $35,000 a year, wardrobe, room, board, transport, even a cell phone.
Yeah.
He really emphasizes, this is a sanctuary, not a prison. You have a choice.
That's huge for someone who's been through what she has.
Absolutely. And Luke, along with Colic, they get Flame's dilemma, this peculiar dilemma, they call it.
About having to potentially force Hannah.
Yeah. They understand that for shifters, for alphas like Flame, that idea is just fundamentally contradictory to their protective instincts.
So what do they advise?
Well, Luke actually takes it a step further. He orders Flame
Orders him to do what?
to take Hannah as her Zuhachi consort. If she'll have him, of course. But he orders him to step up, understanding the necessity of it to save her.
Wow. The king himself commands it.
Yeah. It takes some of the burden of choice off Flame, maybe, but frames as duty.
And what's Luke's bigger goal here?
Well, Flame eventually figures it out. Luke is trying to build an immortal Camelot,
An immortal Camelot,
Yeah.
seriously.
a safe haven, primarily to protect his own queen, Eli, but also for all their allies and their mates, drawing on the combined strength of all these powerful alphas he's gathering.
That's a grand vision indeed. Building a new, honorable kingdom.
Exactly.
Okay, this is all leading somewhere intense. The ultimate sacrifice. Flame's dark oath.
This is the absolute core of it. Flame is just torn apart, right?
Yeah.
His honor as a dragon knight, sworn for centuries, versus his desperate need, his love that compels him to save Hannah.
And the threat from Ash, the Lord of Dragons, is real. Execution.
Very real. If Ash finds out he's been feeding Hannah his forbidden blood, he faces execution. So he realizes, like Calic told him, he has to sacrifice his honor to serve her. He has to force it to save her from herself. There's no other way to stop her fading.
This is such a heavy conflict. Honor versus love, life versus rules.
And then Kira, this Nephilim character, she drops a prophecy bomb too.
Another prophecy.
Kind of. She tells Hannah that Flame will force you to submit.
Oh boy.
But she adds, in doing that, he'll set you free, and you'll love him for it.
Forced submission leads to freedom and love. That's deeply paradoxical.
Extremely. It hints at this incredibly complex bond they're forming, one that defies normal understanding, a submission that is freedom somehow.
So how does Hannah react to all this? Does she finally understand what Flame is risking?
Yes. Through everything she's experienced and hearing from Mihaela and Calic, she starts to truly grasp the depth of his love, the enormity of his sacrifice.
And she makes a move.
She does. She explicitly asks him, "Love me again."
Wow. Taking charge in her own way.
Exactly. It leads to this incredibly intense intimacy where she willingly drinks his blood. And that act, it's not just physical sustenance anymore, it cements everything. Her understanding of their connection, its profundity.
So, Flame's dark oath.
Yeah.
What exactly is it?
He acknowledges it himself. His actions are a complete breach of his old vows, but he confirms his new oath, this dark oath, is simply to protect Hannah, no matter the cost.
At all costs.
Yeah. And he tells her something chilling. He says, if he is executed by Ash, when he eventually returns from the netherworld, or wherever dragons go,
Yeah.
he wouldn't even know you existed, the memory would be wiped, she'd be lost to him forever.
Oh my God, that raises the stakes even higher.
Unbelievably high.
Er.
But he promises her, I will always come back to you, with one condition.
Which is,
As long as you aren't the one who destroys me.
wow, that puts some pressure on her too. The vulnerability, even for him.
Mutual vulnerability, yeah.
So after all that, what's Hannah's decision?
Ultimately, she feels safe. She feels loved. Maybe for the first time, truly. She decides to stay at Draoithe.
Embracing this new life.
Yes, including pursuing dancing again within the sanctuary. Knowing Flame will be there, she admits it to herself finally. She's in love with him. She needs him. She's possessive of him even.
What an incredible arc.
Yeah.
From broken victim to choosing her place, her love, her power.
It really is.
So wrapping this up, what a journey, right? Into this world where love just smashes rules and redefines honor.
Yeah.
This deep dive into Dark Oath. It really shows a love so profound.
Yeah, it compels this ancient dragon to basically challenge his entire identity.
Yeah.
Swear this dark oath to protect his mate, even if it means throwing away centuries of honor.
It really makes you think, doesn't it?
For sure.
In a world where freedom is found in, well, paradox, and love demands these unthinkable sacrifices, what does it really mean to be bound by an oath? Especially one that makes you break every other promise you ever made.
That's the provocative thought, isn't it? Is true honor about sticking rigidly to the rules no matter what? Or is it found in that ultimate sacrifice? The sacrifice made for love, even if it looks like dishonor from the outside. It's something to definitely mull over.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for your support. For more, visit opheliakee.com. Welcome to the dream. Sincerely. Okay.